Content warning. Some episodes may include strong language or sensitive topics, including trauma or assault. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, this is Carrie Jo, and this is my podcast, Holy Chuckles. Thanks for joining in. Today, we're going to be talking about a little bit about obeying, a little bit about my journey with anxiety, my weight journey, just all kinds of things. First, I want to say thank you so much for listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, however you are doing it. We appreciate it. I also want to say thank you for being patient. This is new for me. This is new for anyone that's helping me. So we are kind of getting our groove, feeling better about it. And we're feeling better about it and getting our groove because you and your great comments, you have given great constructive criticism. You have given me grace through all of my crying, because now in this new season of my life, I am emotional. I can't stop crying. So thank you for giving me grace through all of that. You also allow me to have my cat in the scene, or not even the scene, in the podcast. I don't even know why I called it a scene. See, look, called him, here he comes. In this podcast, he is my director, my supervisor, my emotional companion. He is my everything. I love him. His name is Tiny Terrorist. We don't call it the terrorist anymore because we thought we were getting flagged when we kept putting it in text. So now we just call him Tiny, and I am so grateful for him. Now let's talk about the bad comments. There's really not that many, and thank you for that. I appreciate it. You know, people are going to judge you from your past. I'm okay with that. If you are my Facebook friend, Heidi Ho, I'm glad you're here. And if you're not, go ahead and find me. We'll be friends. But in saying that, Facebook friends, friends from your past, friends from your hometown, friends from your old job, wherever it may be, they like to bring up who you used to be. You know how I know this? Because I did it. I would bring up people's past. Pot calling the kettle black. That was me. I am sorry. I now understand. And I'm sorry it took me to get to here to understand what I was doing. But remember last episode, we talked about gossip, and come by it honestly. If that's what you know, that's what you do. So I am sorry. I want to say I am anew. You can judge me. I'm not taking down any photos that I have from my past, because that was my past. That was part of my life. And I want people to see who I was then and who I am now. And that if I can change, this here girl can change. I'm telling you, anyone can change. Anybody. So go take a look. Go have a gander. Say what you want to say. Makes no difference to me, because the only one that I answer to is God. So I wanted to just say that. Keep your good comments coming. Keep your bad comments coming. Let's keep a platform of open communication. We want to talk about anything and everything. So growth. Why is it important? Because, man, we can't stay in that yucky, stagnant place. I didn't know I was staying in a stagnant place. I thought if I did better things that I was doing better, but no, I was staying in that stagnant place. I was doing the same things, going the same places, drinking the same alcohol. Not that I'm drinking I have wine every now and again. That's fine. And quite frankly, drinking is not bad. It's the consumption that I was doing and where my brain was when I was doing it, right? So I want everyone to know, just because I say, oh, I don't drink that much anymore, or sometimes I don't drink, sometimes I go through a really dry spell that I don't feel like drinking, it has nothing to do with what you're doing. I don't care what you're doing, just as you should not care what I am doing. If we stay out of people's business, people can find their way. That has been part of the problem. We all have to find our way with the traumas that we have had are still having, have been, dealt, whatever it may be. And I can't find my way or couldn't find my way with all the opinions, all the this is what you should do. And don't get me wrong, I did it too. Been there, done that, bought that t-shirt. I was Dr. Carrie Joe and didn't have any kind of education before I got any of my degrees, right? So I just want to say growth is important, especially when God calls you to your purpose. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about is mental health. Now, let me tell you, I said it in the last podcast. My family didn't talk about mental health. We said nothing about mental health. I don't even know that we even knew what mental health was. I will say, I had an Uncle George. I called him Crazy Uncle George. He has forgiven me, but I did that because he had mental health issues. And he was in and out of mental health facilities, in and out of jail, right? But it wasn't because he was crazy. It was because just like I had been going through my, let's call it spiritual awakening, let's call it my renewal relationship with God, however you want to refer to it, it is difficult. It is hard. You think you are crazy. You think you are going through things. Your body feels things. Your mind tells you something. There is spiritual warfare going on, right? So had I known that all I had to do was start a podcast, do you know how much money I would have saved on therapy? Oh, so for all those maybe that are okay just telling your business to everyone, start a podcast. I'm for it. Anyone and everyone can start a podcast. Do it. I spent a lot of money on therapy. Not only did I spend a lot of money on therapy caused me issues. Therapy was part of my mental health. Now, let me say this. It was part of it because I made it. When you don't tell the truth, when you go for help but aren't really there for help, they cannot help you. Okay? I want to make that clear. Therapy is fantastic. And if you're having a hard time and you don't feel like you have anyone to talk to, find you a therapist. Find someone to talk to. Mental health professionals are there to help us. My problem was I didn't want to be honest. And that is where we make our mistakes, right? Man, I think I've been through 15 therapists. And I'm not going to lie, I found a great one. This last one, oh man, she was so great. And we vibed and like I felt like I could open up and I started being truthful. And this was just back in, I think 2023, beginning of 2024. Like I felt like I was being really truthful and telling my real saga, my real dilemmas, my real traumas, right? And then she called me one day and she's like, hey, and she wasn't a timid speaker, right? We kind of had the same personality. She's like, I got to tell you something. And I'm like, no, if you tell me that you cannot be my therapist anymore, I am going to lose my shit. I'm just going to lose my shit. And she's like, well, get ready to lose your shit. And I'm like, oh man. Her spouse was in the military and they were moving to a different country. I'm moving to a different country. The one before that, like, I was like, I can't get along with you. I don't like you. I literally told her, I don't like you. And I'm pretty sure she felt the same about me. So we were even Steven. So I was like, I'm not doing therapist anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm not. Because I finally thought, okay, this is my one. This is my girl. I can really open up. And I was pulled away. Not only that, finding therapists, man, is difficult. It's hard. You don't know. You get to read their little synopsis of who they are, what they do. But man, trying to vibe and see if you're going to really be able to say who you are or your real story. So now you got to go through therapist, tell your story, trauma, think about it. Oh my God, please stop the cycle for me. And again, this is just for me. So Part of the reason I didn't tell the whole truth is because I was ashamed. Who wants to say they were sexually abused? Who wants to say like all the crap things that they've done in their life, right? Who wants to tell? But you have to. That's part of going to therapy. Like, why did you do this? Well, could it be because of this, right? I get it. I understand it, but it still doesn't feel good. And if we have to go on feelings, none of it felt good. Right? I masked it all with humor. One time I was in boot camp, and this just gives a kind of a way I masked the things that were going on inside me. One time I was in boot camp working out, and we had to do these planks. And I'm a person that if I'm on the treadmill, I can't look at the time because it goes slower. I don't want you telling me how much longer I have because that feels like forever, right? Even though it may only be 15 seconds. But my boot camp instructor she would sit on the ground with us when we were doing the minute plank, right? And when you're doing a minute plank as a fat kid, that's a long time to plank it. Okay. So she would sit and give like 15-second increments. You only have, 45 seconds. Oh my God, that's an hour. You only have 30 seconds. Oh my God, now that's 44 more minutes. It literally, that's how it works in my brain. So one time she was doing this and I'm like, it's just like getting molested. You kind of just have to let it happen and get through it and it'll end soon. So when I said that, again, thought I said it in my head, but I said it out loud. I think everyone in that boot camp class was like, ooh. It makes people uncomfortable, right? Well, guess what? That's what therapy did for me. It made me uncomfortable. So when I'm uncomfortable, I make jokes and I make uncomfortable jokes. So I stopped going to therapy. I did. I even told my wife at that time was like, you should really get into therapy. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking for a therapist. But I fake looked. I'm not going to lie. I fake looked. I had friends that were in therapy that would tell me about their therapists. And I'm like, yeah, I'll try that one. No, thank you. Sure wouldn't. So my problems still increased. My trauma heightened. Man, I was wound so tight. Like literally, I was just a ball of anxiety. And I was not on any medication. And boy, did I need to be. I probably should have been on a multitude of medications for anxiety, but I wasn't. Never talked about them, never did it, never went on them. In fact, I wouldn't even tell my physicians, hi, I am a ball of anxious energy. I would just yell at people, be an asshole, and go about my day. But one day, I was working from home, and it was during the COVID-ish time, and Amazon was supposed to deliver cat food. I am a person that will wait till the last minute. Procrastinator was one of my little demons, okay? And I am a person that would wait for the last minute to order cat food. And I was always afraid that I would have a cat looking at me going, where is my food? Where is it? And what was I going to feed them? They wouldn't eat eggs. They wouldn't eat certain things. And I'm like, oh God, these cats are going to have nothing to eat. They're going to eat my face when I'm asleep. What am I going to do? So I had ordered cat food late and it was supposed to be there that day and got the little notification that it was delivered. Walked outside, no cat. And at this time, I had this cat named Bear, and he was a gangster, okay? Bear was a gangster. I swear he was smoking a cigarette, had a gold chain around his neck. He would like lick his paws like he was, gonna slap you with that paw, right? I'm not gonna lie. He scared me a little bit. So I'm like, crap, Bear's going to be so mad. He's not going to have any food. He's just going to be able to eat dry food. And that does not work around our house. We have to have wet food because these crazy cats. So I called Amazon and she's like, meh, go look for it. I was irritated and I'd probably had things happen at work. I was probably on high alert, high anxiety. I lost my shit, lost it, literally lost it. Like I was yelling at this poor Amazon lady, like, you want me to go walk around this apartment complex? I don't know these people. These people don't know me. In fact, don't ever do that. You should not go walk around looking your package. Don't do it. It's not good. So I'm yelling at her about that. And then I'm like, and mind you, my cats are fat. You see me. If you're watching this on video, you see me. And if you're not, I'm not a small person. My cats mimic me, okay? They are not small cats. They could live for days out in the wild. They are tigers. They are lions. They are bears. They are that big, okay? So it's not that they were going to starve. They weren't. I just had it with people, right? One of my things is being dismissed. I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it. And it's something I have been having to work on because I have been dismissed all my life and I hate it. So she was pretty much dismissing that one, they were supposed to do that specific job because I ordered it from them. You deliver it. But in their defense, humans deliver this. And I was not giving one care about this human that maybe was having a bad day. I was just worried and concerned about me and my fat ass cats. So, I went on and on. And at this time, Nisha was talking to her sister on the phone. And even her sister was like, what is going on? That is how loud I got. And she was in a different room. I got loud. I got angry. I got stupid. And Nisha had to get off the phone and finally had to come in there and be like, hang up the phone. Hang up the phone. And I hung up the phone. I probably said something nasty to this lady. And I hung up the phone. She's like, you need help. You literally need help. You need medical attention. You are going to have a heart attack. I was on high blood pressure medicine. She probably wasn't far from the truth. She set me down and she's like, you are wound so tight. You can't even function without losing your grip on every small thing that happens. I think she was the first person in my life that was brave enough to say the truth. Because this is not my first time losing my ever-loving mind on something stupid. This was my 100,000,000th time. In my last relationship, I'm sure it was like, oh my God, here she goes again. But Nisha had a different perspective and she really wanted to get me some help. So we went to go see the physician and explain the issues that were going on. And we started out with 20. 20 milligrams of Prozac. That was like sucking on a Tic Tac. That didn't do anything. That didn't change anything. That didn't do anything. Okay, we bump it up to 40. Yeah, I'm like, I'm okay. But I'm still losing my shit, right? Bump it up to 60. Okay. Yeah. This might work. Started to lose my mind a little bit less, right? Started to lose it on everybody a little bit less, but still was doing it, right? Maybe instead of doing it 25 times a week, I knocked it down to a good 15. That's still progress. Oh man, we bumped it up to 80 milligrams of Prozac. 80 milligrams of Prozac. Now I was feeling good, right? But I wasn't dealing with anything because now my insides were like, oh, we feel good. We got no problems. But I did, still did. But you know what? I had to be able to function. And that was our first step, is having me function without losing myself and just going off on everybody. Cause I was 5'4" with a 7-foot mouth. And I'm not saying I would just yell in the house. No. The public was my stomping ground for my anxiety megaphone, right? I remember we lived in these apartments and they would come and do the lawn. And man, this happened like 3 times. I would go wash my car, park it, and then the lawn people would come and they would sling mud on it every time. And I went down the stairs. I was going to the store or something, and I lost it because this was like the third time I just got done washing the car. And bam, mud again. And I'm like, oh my God. So I went to go wreak havoc. Instead of just going to the office and saying, listen, I'm super tired of this. I've let it go 2 or 3 times. Please talk to the maintenance or the lawn guys and have them stop doing this. I went and found the lawn people. Okay. And let me say this. It was during the time of the George Floyd death, all the things that were going on, all the controversy. And, it was not a good time for anyone. And so I am standing out in the middle of the parking lot yelling. The blowers are going, the mowers are going. I am yelling, screaming at this gentleman who was like, what is going on? And why is this child yelling at me? Because that's how short I am, right? And I am just going off. Now, my mom's name was Karen. And, we're in the society of Karens going off, right? And I really hate it, but I understand it. I don't even know why the Karen thing got started, but I am just being, for any other term I can use, being a little Karen. I really am. But not only that, if you were not in the conversation, all you would see is this white, angry lady yelling at this brown man. And mind you, I didn't even think about that because my wife is mixed. My daughter is mixed. I mean, basically all my kids are mixed. Like, I have no issues. Color is like, I see you. And all I saw was a man that was the supervisor of all the lawn people. But it got pointed out to me later what it could have looked at like and what could have happened. So I get done with my yelling, get done with my rant. And I know at the end of our conversation, he was like, okay, ma'am, have a nice day. And I know I'm yelling, you have a nice day. Like a little asshole just walking off. Literally, I am as short as a child. I probably look like a child stomping off, and got in my car and drove off. And at this time called my wife and said, yo, because I'm a type of person that I will do things in the moment, was a type of person that would do things in the moment, take 5 or 6 minutes to process it and realize, that probably wasn't so great. And I will tell on myself all the time. All the time. I can't keep secrets, okay? So if you have a secret, don't tell me. I'm not going to keep it. Just don't tell me, period. Don't come to me and be like, hey, I got to tell you something, but don't tell so-and-so. Nope, I'm not the one. I'm not your person. Move it along. Go tell someone else. I can't do it. And I will not. It burns my insides. Okay? So I called my wife and I said, I got to tell you something. And immediately, this is what she said. So this is how you know it happened all the time. What did you do? It wasn't, okay, I'm ready to hear. It was literally, what did you do? Not what did the other person do? Not what happened to you? Because she knows me. She knows me. If there are 2 people in this world that know me, it is God and Nisha. They know me. And she said, what did you do? I said, okay, listen, when I tell you this, because now that I've had a minute to think about it, it's going to sound really horrible. And she's like, oh God. And I go through the whole story and she's like, why would you do that? Get back here now. Get back here now. And I'm like, man, I am in so much trouble. Not only was she pissed at me, she was pissed that the car had it again. She was mad that this man that towered over this little lady, I'm gonna call me a little lady, didn't say, ma'am, go on about your way and stop it, right? There were plethora of things that she saw outside of what he saw, what I saw, what the office saw, what the world saw, right? Because she knows me so well. And she knows the situations that I have put us in. So she went to the office, handled that part, right? Like, please tell your lawn people to stop, and handled that part, right? If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken, but I'm certain she went to the lawn people and apologized for me, right? So I just was like, or maybe even that day she made me go apologize. This has happened so many times in my life, especially my mom making me go apologize to my neighbor's doors when I was a kid. So it's not like it's uncommon for someone to make me go apologize. And then I walked up the stairs like a child that had just got caught doing something they shouldn't have been doing. And I walked in and I said, "What?" And she's like, "I'm sorry, who are you talking to? I'm not the one that did this. You did." Oh, yeah, I forgot. I literally forgot from the 10 minutes I had left the house. So we had a talking to. And she explained why we don't do these things in the times that we are. So I took my butt whooping, took my chastising, probably didn't take it very well, but I took it and really contemplated on what she said. And she was very much right. She was very right. There was no reason for me to go up to them. There was no reason for me to say the things that I did. There was no reason for me to even approach them. And let's forget even the time it was, just period. Period. So, people, stop approaching other people when they're doing something. Stop approaching other people when you think they've done something to you. Just stop. Go think about it and then go have a conversation. Feelings change. Emotions change. Had I not been pissed about just washing my car, he didn't know I just washed my car. He probably didn't even know they had done it the last 2 or 3 times. Had I calmed myself down and then thought about it, I wouldn't have handled it that way. So stop going to people's cars. Stop telling people what they should and shouldn't be doing. Just stop. Mind your own business. Deal with your own shit. And also deal with your emotions before talking to people. I'm learning that. So I'm sorry if I've ever hurt your feelings because I didn't deal with my emotions before talking to you. I'm sorry if we'd have a conversation and I didn't handle it properly because I was in my feels. I'm working on that. So in this process of getting back to my faith and healing, anxiety was a big one God and I had to work on, right? Because I'm just walking around or running around the DFW area, throwing out asshole bombs to everyone, right? So God and I really had to work on it. And one of the verses was 1 Peter 5:7. Cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. He cares for me. And I can tell him everything that's wrong. Everything. From the people that mess up my car, to the people that irritate me in the street, to the people that cut me off. I can literally tell God everything. I am telling on all of you. I'm telling on all of y'all. When you upset me, when you hurt my feelings, when you call me names, when you call my cat a name, I don't care. I don't care what it is. I'm telling. So if you see me out in the streets, you better be on your bestest behavior because I'm telling God. I'm not telling your mama. I'm not telling your daddy. I'm not telling your partner. I ain't telling your kids. I'm not shouting it out. I'm not making myself look like a fool anymore. I'm telling God. I know your name. I got your license plate number. Heck, I may even have your address. I'm telling God. You hear what I'm saying? So it's not always easy. I spiral. Man, I am the spirally of spirals. I will latch onto something and I will take it until we go all the way down and meet the end of the earth. I am a drill that will not quit, but I'm learning. I'm learning to give it to God and leave it alone. I am not a medical professional when I say this. Please do not do this. I am not a professional. I don't even play a physician on TV. I got off my anxiety meds. Now, I did it little by little, but I did remove myself off of them. I did not like them. I did not like the way that they made me feel dead inside. So I went from one extreme to the other, and I needed to meet in the middle. And so I did. I got off my anxiety meds, and I'm not saying that I did it in the right way. I probably didn't, but I am 0 or 100. And I'm even in that with my medication. So please don't do that. But if you're feeling, hey, let me start talking to God about my problems, start telling him. Start telling him on everyone you meet when they do something bad, tell God, do it, do it, do it. Anyway, so if you decide, hey, maybe I'll just talk to God about my meds. Maybe I'll just talk to God about my anxiety. Seek out professional help to make sure you're doing it the right way. But I'm now off all of my medication. Not only am I off all of my anxiety medication, I am off my ADHD medication because God and I talked about that too. I need to focus. And God said, then you need to fast. I said, excuse me, sir, what? You want me to go without food? No, sir. Thank you, though. But until I did start fasting, and I'm not saying I fast 40 days like Moses did. Sometimes I fast a day. Sometimes I fast 16 hours. Currently, I'm on a 36-hour fast. Whatever God tells me I need to do, and sometimes I don't listen. My first fast was a complete failure, but it also was a complete success because I went longer than I ever had. Right? So it's all in how we look at things, but you got to take it up with God, just like I did. So I was taking CBD and THC for my anxiety, right? No, it cracks me up when I say it. I was taking 80 milligrams of Prozac, drinking like a fish, and taking CBD and THC. What was I doing? What was happening? I'm no longer on that. I realized after I got off the alcohol, after I let the anxiety meds go, and CBD and THC were my last things to let go, I realized I, not anyone else, me only, it allowed thoughts, patterns, things to come into my mind without me knowing and without my permission. And man, I did not like that. Don't get me wrong. The CBD, it made me feel good. But remember how I just talked about feelings and we shouldn't go off feelings? Just because it feels good doesn't mean it is good. So your life, your decisions, my life, my decisions. And I decided I no longer wanted to be dependent on medication or any type of substance. So I removed it from my life. And boy, was it difficult. But I did it because God helped me through it. So my anxiety, I'm not saying that it's not there. It is. Sometimes it grabs a hold of me and punches me square in the face. But then I have to get on my knees and be like, God, this is yours, not mine. This is yours, not mine. Just like my weight. Just like my addiction to food. And let me tell you, I only started admitting that I have an addiction to food in these past couple of 6 months or so. If you told me I had an addiction to food, I'd be like, no, I don't. No, I don't. But I did. Not only did I have an addiction to food, I had addiction to everything about food, cooking, watching it, taking pictures of it, going to restaurants to try new things, and not just let me try a one item. It was like order 10 items. And then now, so now I got to take all this food home, and now I'm eating off of it for weeks. Like, I mean, not weeks, because that's gross, but like a couple of days, right? So now I'm gorging, right? Gluttony, gluttony, gluttony. I've always been a big person all my life. I was a fat kid. I'm a fat adult, right? I remember my mom waking me up before school every day, and this is going to sound horrible when I say it, but I'm going to say it this way: walking me like you would walk the dogs. I didn't enjoy it. I wanted to be in bed. I didn't need a potty outside, but we would walk and walk, and we would talk. And don't get me wrong, I love the talking part. Hi. But I didn't like the walking part because I felt it was forced. It was a had to. Um, she would promise, back then in the day, Guess jeans were like huge, right? I'll get you a pair of Guess jeans because, fat coats couldn't wear Guess jeans. We were wearing Lee or what was it called? Yeah, Lee's. I think they were a part of Wrangler, or Huskies, I think was the other brand, was Huskies, Husky pants, so she promised, like some Guess jeans, right? And you get that little triangle on your butt, right? I was never going to fit into those. Ever. I remember one day that I was in intermediate school. So we're saying fifth or sixth grade, right? And I would take my lunch to school. I mean, not all the time. They had good food. I would take my lunch to school. And so my mom actually talked to the principal. When your mom has to go to your school and talk to your principal about your diet, it's just stupid, right? Then you feel so ostracized and like a little weirdo. And even the principal was like, man, okay, but I don't really see her like eating all these things. But, and again, talking right in front of me, like, hi, folks. Fat kid is here. I am in the room. I know you can see me. It's not like I'm small, but it was like, I wanted to bring like the one treat that I got was this Diet Dr. Pepper, right? But I didn't want other kids to see it being diet because you know what? I was a little asshole as a kid. Kids are assholes and they make fun of other kids, right? And so I didn't want to take the can in. So if you put it in a thermos back then, with the carbonation, it would not end up well. So I would take the Diet Dr. Pepper to school. I would go in the bathroom. I would pour it in my thermos right before lunch. So that way nobody would see. And my mom felt that she needed to go and tell them what I was doing so I wouldn't get caught in the bathroom looking like a weirdo with a can of Dr. Pepper, but we're just a Diet Dr. Pepper. So I would do that every day. It's just so I could have that treat because, fat kids don't get treats, right? Because we're fat and we don't deserve them, or we're fat and we shouldn't eat them, or we're fat and even though our parents can see all the things that we're eating, it's still, you get ostracized just because you're fat. Well, I want to eat a ho-ho too. Okay? I want a Twinkie too. But I understood the reason that my mom did it, right? She did it because she wanted me to fit in. She did it because my mom was tall and I will say voluptuous. She was a big statured woman, what they called to make us feel better, big boned. Our bones are the same size. We're not big boned. So, and I'm sure that she had these issues. So she was doing it out of love. But even doing it out of love, it created my worth was tied to weight, body shaming, low self-esteem, negative outlook on physical activity. I did not want to walk. It was boring. It was dumb. Where are we going? And then we're just going to walk down wherever and then just come back for what? Can we get a donut? Okay. So, and that love is conditional. Those are the things that taught me. But what I figured out being a fat kid is that I could make people laugh. God gave me this sense of humor. He gave me the ability to crack jokes and make jokes in the perfect timing. And man, did I use this to my advantage, right? From the time I can remember, I was never without friends. Never. And a lot of times, people who are bigger get ostracized because they can't move as fast. They maybe can't do the things that other people can do. So we don't want to be friends with them. Like, they're a big kid. We don't want them on our kickball team. They can't run fast. You know what? You should put them on your kickball team because you know what they can do? They can kick the ball so far. And I don't care that they can just make it to first base, but they can get all your other runners in. What? So pick that big kid because they going to get your runners in. Okay? So I was never without friends, but I realized at an early age, I couldn't always do the same things they could do, right? Running. No, thank you. Balancing sometimes wouldn't work for me. I sometimes had a hard time getting in the same spaces that they did. And my clothes were different, right? So there was always different things. And I know my mom didn't want me to feel those things, right? But didn't matter. Nothing was going to change. This was for me what I carried. And partly already at that age, I was carrying trauma from being sexually abused. I not only was carrying trauma from that, but I was carrying trauma from things in our household happening that as a baby, I didn't even know about. As a baby, I can't say, hey, remember I'm here. I probably shouldn't be listening to this. Help a baby out. Get me out of the room. But I didn't. I couldn't. And so trauma is internal. I was taught to stay quiet, but my humor got me through being a fat kid, and I was an active fat kid. I was very active. I played soccer. I played softball. I played volleyball. I did all the sports. I played basketball. I don't care. I don't care who you talk to. If you are in Granbury, Texas, and it was in like intermediate school, I'm telling you, there will be a story that I shot a ball from half court at the last second of a game and it went in. It went in. You know why? Because I was a fat kid and I could lob that ball harder and longer than any of them small kids. And that is why in that grade, I shot a ball from half court and made it at the buzzer. Okay, just reliving that kid memories that were great. So, in playing softball, a lot of the times, just like in band, right? They'll put the big kids playing the tuba. Stop it. I know this because I was a big kid and they tried to make me play the tuba. No, thank you. But they will also pick positions that you don't have to run because you're slower. You don't have to, you're going to be able to do the things that you need to do because you're fat and you're slower and it's easier for you and they can't depend on you. That is what I learned as a child, being fat. They think they can't depend on me. Well, I'm going to show you different. So when I played softball, they put me as a catcher. Can I tell you, I was one of the best catchers. One of the best. One, because I'm closer to the ground. My center of gravity closer to the ground made me really good at catching. Not only that, I had a mind to see what was going out in the field. And my third, well, also I had a strong arm. And my fourth is I had this mouth, right? This mouth that God gave me that all the time I got U's and N's in conduct because it always said, talks too much, whatever, don't care. So I'll tell this quick story because it just got told to me a couple of weeks ago. I had to have been between the ages of probably 11 and 13. And we were playing a game and this team, they had nicknames on the back of their jerseys. We didn't have them. And maybe I was a little jealous. Could be. Anyway, they would come up, right? And I always talked a lot of trash. Tried to keep it quiet, right? But sometimes I got overexcited. Anyway, there was a girl that came up with the nickname on the back of her jersey, Bug. Bug was her nickname. And my mom couldn't go to the game, probably was sick, something was happening. And she asked one of our very dearest friends, I call her Mama Betty. And she asked Mama Betty to take me and be responsible for me. Now, I want to say this. That is a large task to ask because I was always in something. I was always getting into something, and that equals I was always getting into trouble. So that was a large ask. Betty Jo, she always took it on. She loved me, still to this day loves me, but she took on that task. And so when Bug came up to the plate, I said, oh, we're going to squash you like a bug. And I said it loud. And the ump had already given several warnings for my mouth. Stopped the game, threw his hands up and said, that's it. Who is responsible for this child? And I'm standing there like waiting for Mama Betty to be like, me, She was in the stands. She was cowering to the side, hiding behind people. And he's like, who is responsible for this child? She was not raising her hand. She was not coming forward. And I'm like, you are responsible for me. And at that moment, she's like, keep your mouth shut, because he said, she does this one more time, she's out of the game. And I want to say, I was a damn good catcher. You did not want me leaving the game. I could pop up and get a foul ball quickly. I don't care how big I was. I was quick. And also, I had something always to prove because I was fat. So I was going to go above and beyond no matter what. And I remember Mama Betty Jo said, shut up. Just shut up. Don't say one word. Man, not being able to say any words for the rest of that game was very hard for me. I did it. I didn't do it with joy in my heart, but I did it. And I also knew I was going to get in trouble when I got home. So it didn't really matter. I was going to get that whooping, but I was going to take it because we were going to squash that girl like a bug. So I was an active kid. I always played sports, always did a lot of things outside. I was always on my bike, always swimming. I don't even think my mom knew. My mom had so much free time in the summer when we were home from school because my brother stayed with my dad most of the time at his car care shop. And me, I stayed out in the streets. I never was home. That water hose water was the best water I've ever had in my life. So honestly, I didn't understand why I was always fat. It never made sense to me until I learned about trauma. Right here as an adult, I understood now why I stayed a fat kid. High school as a fat kid sucked. Even though I loved high school, I loved going to school. I loved the socializing. I had a lot of friends, but inside it was something different. I was tormented by myself. I'm sure I was made fun of. You know, we all make fun of people when we were kids, right? For whatever reason, just the dumbest reasons. I'm sure that happened. I'm sure they called me fat. I'm sure they made jokes about me eating. There are probably a million things that went on. But what went on inside my mind and inside my heart was worse than what anyone could say. Going into a high school as a fat kid, even middle school, as a fat kid, and not knowing if you're going to fit in the desk. I bet no one really even thought about that, right? Man, those desks are small, okay? And trying to go in and be like, am I going to fit in this desk? Am I going to be watched as I'm trying to get into the desk? How embarrassing. But yet, if you listen to the last episode, my mom had passed away. My dad went and did his work things. I had no one to come home to and be like, yo, I'm fat. I can't fit in the desk. What do we do? Right? I'm eating what I know to eat. It's probably not the most healthy. It's probably things I shouldn't be eating. But I will tell you this, I did eat that high school pizza for breakfast, that they would serve you the next day or in that morning. The best pizza you'll ever have in your life is your high school pizza that they serve for breakfast. I don't care who you are, it's the best. But I didn't have someone to go to and be like, hey, I can't fit in the desk. What do we do? Hey, what do I eat? How do I eat? I didn't have that guidance. All I had was walking in, not knowing if I was going to fit in the desk. Clothes. Oh my God. Clothes for fat kids, especially back in the 90s. What do we wear? What do we do? My choices were muumuus that your grandma wore, what they had at Lane Bryant, and those weren't flattering. Or, just really what I could find that would fit, not that what I like. So even as an adult, I always wear shorts and t-shirts. Why? Because that's what I'm comfortable in, because that's what I've always worn. Why? Because I'm a fat kid and there weren't many options. And that's what made me feel comfortable, shorts and t-shirts, because at least I knew I could fit in those. Right. And quite frankly, women's clothing, the way it was cut for a fat kid like myself, it didn't feel good. So of course I'm going to wear shorts and t-shirts from the boys' side. They're more comfortable. And also, let's talk about men and women's clothes. I'm certain I've never seen a vagina or a penis hanging off a shirt or a pair of pants. Why do you care what I wear? Why does it make a difference to you? Now, I could understand, right? If you had to insert your body part that you were born with into the clothes to actually be able to wear them. But it's not like a ride where you put a quarter in to make it work. It's a pair of pants. It's a pair of shorts. It's a t-shirt. It's a shirt. Why do you care what I wear? And why is it necessary to comment? Okay, you don't like boys wearing dresses? Cool. Well, I guess don't hang out with boys that wear dresses. That's the resolution to the problem. You don't like women wearing a suit? Then don't hang out with those women. Other than that, you really don't have to say anything. Because sometimes, because I bet you didn't think about this, sometimes, what if it's all they had? What if it's all they could fit into? What if it's the only thing they were comfortable in? Did you ever think about that? No, most people don't. So clothes were not my best friend. When girls in high school would go to the mall, I didn't get asked to go to the mall. Why? One, didn't have money. Didn't have money because parents weren't around. Two, what are we going to shop for? Is someone that's a size 6 going to go to Lane Bryant and hang out with me and get my size 22? Yeah, size 22 in high school. That's a bit of a difference, right? They don't understand what I'm going through. They don't, and quite frankly, they don't know how to, right? They don't know how to. I didn't have adult women in my life, part of my family, not part of my family, whatever it may be, take me to the side and be like, man, let's talk about this. Let's talk about your weight. Let's talk about what we can do. Let's talk about how we make you feel comfortable in your clothes. So I dealt with what I had and moved on from there and made jokes about it because it was easier to laugh at myself than have someone else do it to me. So parents, teach your kids about being kind. Teach your kids about understanding everyone is not the same. I'm not saying you're little kids. I'm talking about your big kids. Teach your big kids that everybody has feelings. So, graduated from high school as a big kid, right? And now I'm an adult living on my own. And it is very hard to find a job when you have no job experience. I mean, I worked at a little restaurant in Granbury, but didn't have a job experience, but grateful that I found one. Now I'm adult working, now I am doing adult things, but also while doing adult things, I still have a food addiction. And so I'm eating, whatever, and fast foods everywhere. I live in, I was from a small town and live in the city now. It's on every corner. And man, that feeds food addiction, right? Everywhere you go. I find it, I'm not going to say funny because it's not funny, but interesting that you have to be a certain age to buy alcohol. You have to be a certain age to buy cigarettes, right? And heaven forbid, marijuana, right? And all of these things that are no, no, no. But food is the most, I should say the biggest drug that is pushed on people. The biggest drug with the most crap in it. I mean, come on, we know cigarettes, because they have to tell you. They have to tell you cigarettes. They have to give you a warning. Alcohol, they have to give you a warning. So we know it could cause some issues. But food, nah. And they are putting the most disgusting ingredients in food. Whatever they can put to make it fill you for the moment or whatever it does. And the plastic, the yuck, the whatever you're putting in your body. Ugh. But man, I was in it. Fast food. I was eat in my car, eat whatever I wanted. So my weight ballooned to my highest of 410 pounds. Put that on a 5'4", and let's be honest, I'm not 5'4", I'm 5'3¼ okay, 5'3¼ I say 5'4" to make myself feel better about my shortness, but put 410 pounds on a 5'4" frame. That is a lot to carry around. A lot to carry around. Now, you're talking not fitting in boots. Someone asking me to get in the back seat of a car, right? This was a time where, your elders, you usually let them ride in the front seat. Nah. If my grandma was coming with us, her little small, tiny butt was getting in the back because I couldn't fit, especially if it was a small car, right? Go to Six Flags. I'm not going to Six Flags. There are two reasons I'm not going to Six Flags. One, I'm fat and I'm not going to fit on the rides. Two, okay, if I go on one of the water rides, because the water rides you can fit on, the log ride and stuff you can fit on, but now you're wet. What happens when a fat person gets wet? Then they get chafing. No, thank you. Did that once, did it twice, never did it again. That's not pleasant and it's not fun. So I couldn't go do the other things people could do. And I'm not saying it's anybody else's fault. It's my fault. But also it's stored trauma. It's things that happen that we push down. It's how our body reacts to things. And instead of getting the help needed and releasing the trauma, because we don't talk about that. We don't know about that. We say you're fat because you eat too much and you don't exercise. Lies. I will say, if you're not watching the video, I have these chickens on the shelves behind me. The reason I have them real quickly is because some of my family, since I wear shorts and t-shirts, and I have glasses. I don't know if any of you guys remember who Chicken Little was, but Chicken Little would run around saying, "The sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling." And so my family was like, "You look like Chicken Little." No lies. It's true. I did. Probably still do. And so I am fascinated with chickens. And so I have squeaky chickens. So when I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying, I'm going to squeak a chicken at you. Okay. But couldn't do a lot of things, was uncomfortable, isolated myself, even as an adult, and forget dating. I don't care. Straight, gay, trans, whatever. Fat people have a hard time dating. Why? Because one, they've probably been big a lot of their lives and they self isolate. That's what I did. Two, people think that we are lazy and all we do is eat. That's untrue. That's false. That's a stereotype and it's stupid. So they think that you don't want to go have fun. You don't want to do these things. I want everyone to know this right now. If you know a fat person in your life, they want to do everything you are doing. They can't. So don't make them feel bad about it. Tell them what they're doing is wrong. Reach your kind hand out and say to them, how can I help you? What can we do together? How would you like to get help? Do you want it? I don't know. Maybe some people are good being fat and that's just what they want to do and they just want to stay at home. I don't know everyone's relationship with it. What I do know is if someone would have said to me, hey, you look uncomfortable. You look like you don't feel good. What can I do to help you? What can we do together? I don't know. Maybe ask them about their childhood. Ask them about if they lost their parents at a young age. Ask them if they even had parents. Maybe their parents were abusive. Maybe they just got out of an abusive relationship. Like there's a million reasons why it could be. So instead of judging, why don't you ask? Why don't you reach that judgmental hand out and say, I'm going to stop being an asshole for 1 minute of my life and show some kindness and ask what you can do to help. And if they tell you, I don't want your help, then that's on them. That's on them. But you've done what you could. But before you make that judgment on that person that does not look like you, why don't you make a step forward and ask to help and see what happens? Just see. I'm going to get off my soapbox for a minute. So didn't date. I'm not going to say never, but didn't date consistently. Then 2000s came around and there was the gastric bypass. What? I can get thin without changing anything because that's what went on in my mind. I didn't hear the rest of it. The rest of it didn't matter. It didn't matter. They said you had to fix your eating, fix this, fix that, fix whatever. I heard I can have a procedure that would cure my problem immediately. Mind you, 410 pounds, health was not great. So it was really a surgery that would also save my life. Okay. And I knew I wouldn't admit that back then, but I'll admit it now. And I needed to do it. So, you go to the little meeting that they had about the surgery and I'm in, but they tell you have to do therapy first. Back then, their therapy was like, let's talk about it for a minute. Let's see why you want to do this. And you didn't really have to tell the truth. You could make up whatever story you wanted to. And because the insurance was paying for it, I'm a shoo-in, right? My health is good enough to do it. I'm young enough to do it. My insurance is paying for it. Bam, 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 bam. Forget the mental health part. And no shade to the medical health community. I'm from the medical health community. No shade against it, but not all the time are people telling you the truth. They just want to fix to the problem that they have. Okay. So the aftercare, did the surgery. Let me tell you, a fat person leading up to surgery and not being able to eat and a person that's dependent on food. I was a royal asshole. And I was looking for anything and everything that would be in that list that they give you of what you can't have. And I would push it to the limit, right? I remember my friend was staying with me and I'm like, oh, because French onion soup is clear. I can have it. And she's like, it has onions in it. I'm like, the broth doesn't. Duh. Right? I was trying anything and everything to push that limit instead of being, I'm having a surgery to help me with this problem that I have. Maybe I could fast for 24 hours. Hell no, I wasn't doing that. Oh. So had my surgery, the aftercare. I did a couple of counseling sessions, but it's not like it is today where they can send 22 texts to your phone. They can contact you by email. They can hunt you down by a robot, whatever it may be. They couldn't do that back then. So if you didn't come to your appointments, what were they going to do? What were they going to do? Nothing. You're going to go about your way. And now you're in this weight loss surgery. And let me tell you this, I went from 410 pounds down to, it was probably about 180 pounds in a matter of, I'm going to say less than 6 months. I've been fat all my life. Now all people are commenting on, you look great. You look great. So in my mind, I was like, well, what was wrong with me before? Right? So now you have a sense of you weren't good enough then. And now everybody, and it wasn't just every now and again, it was constant. You'd go into the grocery store. The people that you would see at the grocery store that you had been seeing, that had seen you at 402 pounds, 10 pounds, when you're buying all of your junk food. Now, you're trying to play the part, right? So you're doing salads and stuff, but you got your junk food hid down underneath because you're still an addict. You still have those problems. Those things have not been solved. You're still going to fast food. You're still eating in your car. Those problems are not resolved. The only thing is resolved is they dismantled the inside of your body so that way you couldn't eat as much. And I'm not saying it's not a fantastic procedure. I am saying that I wished I had been talked about healing your inside before I went and did a surgery. That's all I'm saying, because it didn't resolve my problem. In fact, enhanced my problem. It really put a spotlight on my problem. Now I'm at this weight and people keep commenting about it. And now I'm secretly eating. And now I've got to be like, shit, I'm gaining weight. People are going to notice. Now I got that problem. So now my anxiety, which then I didn't even know was anxiety, is going like upward. I'm thin or thinner, right? Because I think my body weight, I'm supposed to be like 120. Shut up. I'm not doing it. Shut up. But like, I couldn't imagine like, oh my God, people are going to talk about me. They're going to say I couldn't do it. They're going to say I'm a failure. You're going to say all of these things. And then guess what? Now my anxiety's high, and guess what makes me feel better? Food. So I'm eating. I mean, it is a vicious cycle, and I'm not dealing with anything because I don't know how. I'm yo-yo diet after yo-yo diet. I'm trying everything again. My weight's coming back on. My joy is gone again. All these things are happening, man. And this has been going on for most of my life. Okay, all of my life. Really, all of my life. I'm going to workout places. I'm going to boot camps. I found this great boot camp in Fort Worth, and it was about people who were overweight that, maybe we couldn't keep up with the skinnier people, the more people that had been working out, the triathlon people. Like when you're put in a workout room with a triathlon, get out, shut up, get me out of there. Torture. I can't even concentrate on working out because I am constantly seeing if you're watching me, if you're making fun of me, what you're doing, right? Because for me, like, that's what you're doing. And also I'm in awe of anyone that does a triathlon. Like, wow. What I learned is I didn't have any discipline. I didn't have any. None. Zip, nada, zero, nothing. None. But I also realized, how can you have discipline when no one showed you any discipline except for spanking your butt or saying children are to be seen and not heard. That's not discipline. That's not discipline. That's not showing a child how to care for themselves, how to show them worthiness, how your body is a temple, right? So I didn't know any of that. I just knew you weren't supposed to be fat. And if you were, there was something wrong with you. And now I got to hide it. Back to this boot camp. This boot camp was made up of people who were like me. And man, the personal trainer, like, applause to her, kudos to her, because she made this the most inclusive place you could be. You were included in everything. No matter if you were only 10 pounds overweight, right? Or if you were 150 pounds overweight, she was going to work with you where you were at. And she was going to make sure that you felt that you could do this. And she was going to keep telling you, you can do this. Man, I had the best time at that boot camp. The best time. And I lost weight. But more than that, I gained strength. I gained discipline, right? But what happened is I started to realize, well, shit, I'm doing all this work. I'm going to boot camp 4 to 5 times a week, right? I'm eating better. I'm doing the right things, but I'm still not losing the weight. I'm not as big as I was, but I'm still not losing the weight like I should. And by the way, still had gastric bypass and my weight's gaining up and I'm trying to get it to come down. And I have to, eat smaller because I have gastric bypass. Couldn't figure it out. It made no sense to me. Then started, I was walking all the time because, again, that's what I knew. Let's go back to the basics. Go back to when my mom, walked me like a little puppy. Let's go back to the basics. Still wasn't working. Nisha and I went to boot camp, went to Orange Theory. Okay? If you're a fat person that walks into Orange Theory, stick it out. Stick it out. Just do what you can. Do what you can. And that's for any place you go to. That's for any exercise program you start. Just do what you can. It gets easier. It gets better. We were going 4 to 5 times a week. Okay? And let me tell you, that is not an easy workout, but I was getting stronger. I was the strongest fat person alive. I was like a fat Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? Like a fat Rambo. But I couldn't get the weight off. And we were eating good. We were eating right. I couldn't get it off. So you know what? Anything I tried didn't work. So there's just no other way to say it. Anything I tried didn't work. So fuck it. It wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. So why am I even trying anymore? What does it matter? Because I can't get the weight off. Let's roll into when I'm in this healing journey with God, right? And I'm like, God, what is it? And it was like, he was like, oh, Carrie Joe, you're addicted to food. Excuse me, what, God? What was that? Carrie Joe, you have a food addiction. What? I have a food addiction? What even is a food addiction? And he said, it means you're addicted to food. Seems simple enough, right? It seems simple enough. But see, food's on every corner. Food's in the grocery stores. Food's everywhere you go. When you're happy, you go celebrate with food. When, you have a breakup, your girls come over with ice cream and cookies and you talk about your breakup and cuss out that person you were with cookies and ice cream and alcohol, right? When you are mourning, people bring food over to your house. Everything that you do seems to be around food. So how can it be addictive? It's not like alcohol or cigarettes, which I did both. So I was like, well, God, what am I supposed to do now if I can't do food? I can't cook, and that's one of my favorite things to do. It's my creative space. I'm not supposed to enjoy all these foods. And then God put the hammer down. God said, no more food shows. What? No more Gordon Ramsay. No more Chef Ann. Rip Chef Ann. Rip Chef Ann. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry Ann's not here anymore. All the food shows, Top Chefs, all the Gordon Ramsay shows, all the baking shows, all the there's one on Food Network. Food. Why do they have networks for food and murder? Why? But I was addicted to both of them. Food and murder. Why? God, what do you mean I can't watch any of these food shows? They say you're addicted to food. You're addicted to food. Why would you want to? And then I made deals, right? Because me and God, I'm a good deal maker with God. And God allows me to make deals. He gives me grace in that and then laughs when I walk away thinking that I won. And I said, okay, God, I will only watch food shows when I eat. How about go back for seconds? And then when I came back to God and I said, oh, God, I'm still having a problem with food. He's like, you're an addict watching a food show. Well, damn it. Guess what? I stopped watching food shows. And now I stopped eating so much. You know what? You remember when you hate when your parents are right? Like when you were a kid and your parents would tell you something and you're like, I know better. Well, my dad was right. He said, you're a food addict. My father was right. He said, you're addicted. He said, you can't do these things anymore. Remember, we can't go backwards. We're going forwards. I said, all right, God, I'll do it. And then he threw another little monkey wrench in what I was doing. He said, hey, guess what? You also got to cut out the TV. What? I said I wouldn't watch food shows, God. I said it. I will do it. I won't watch them. He said, people eat in those food shows, don't they? Damn it. People are always eating, right? There's commercials about food. There's people eating in the shows. There's people peddling food everywhere you go. And I'm a food. So now I got to read. I got to read books. I just wanted my shows, but I couldn't. And listen, now I love to read books and I love to read the Bible and I love all the things that I didn't love because my mind has been open to new things because I'm not just shoveling food and crap in it all the time. And that's what TV is. A lot of the time it's just crap putting in your body, right? Putting in your mind. It's just crap going in. I'm not saying I don't watch TV. I do, but I'm very careful now about what I watch because I'm a food addict. And then God threw another one at me. You gotta quit scrolling. What? Put the phone down. Do you know how many times I would, when I was trying to break my addiction to my phone, because it is an addiction, technology is an addiction and it's everywhere around us, just like food is. But I would go, okay, I'm going to play a game of spades. And I would play the spades. And then I'd be like, all right, put my phone down for an hour. And I would constantly, literally, my body would call to it. My mind would call to it. Everything in me would call to it. And next thing you know, I have it in my hand again. How did that get there? How did that phone get back in my hand? And I don't even have social media at this time. So it's not like I'm scrolling on social media. I'm not going to lie. I had TikTok. I want to say it, but I don't want to say it. TikTok is the devil. And we all have been on TikTok, right? You're going to get on there for 5 minutes just to look up something, right? Like maybe I saved a recipe. And then 45 hours later, I'm still on TikTok. 3 days have gone by. I haven't showered. I don't even know if I fed my animals. Where have I been? TikTok is another universe, and I've been sucked in yet again. So God said, no more phone. No more TikTok. No more spades on the phone. No, 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 no. And I had to literally wean myself off of it. And it was so difficult. I would catch myself back and forth. I would make excuses as to why I was on my phone. So the phone and TV made me lazy. I didn't want to be lazy, but it did make me lazy. And just because I was fat didn't mean I was lazy, because let me tell you this, there are many of you thin folk out there that have the same problems I do. Your genetics are just much better. So thank your ancestors. So I said, okay, God, no more food shows, no more phone, no more looking up recipes, no more cooking extravagantly, no more going to restaurants and ordering 22 things because I need to try them all. I learned that I was being obedient. And obedience, wow, I didn't know it was so hard for me. Because when I was a kid, if you weren't obedient, you got a spanking. When I was a kid, if you weren't obedient, you got grounded. But see, I stopped having to be obedient at probably around the age of 13. And I'm not saying that I didn't have to do what I was told. I still had that, caveat when everybody was around me, or my dad was there, or whenever my mom was sick, no matter what, I still had to do what I was told. But I didn't have anyone teaching me how to be obedient. I didn't have anyone showing me what obedience meant and why it's a positive thing, right? Because obedience is positive when you're obedient in the right ways, right? And people are not taking advantage with their authority. That is when obedience is a good thing, right? Now, I told you in one of the first episodes that I started reading the Bible, and I love about the stories, right? And so one of my favorite stories is about Jonah and the well, right? And if you ever get a chance to read it, go ahead. It's a very small, like a couple of pages. And I'm not going to say the name of the town, and I may not do it in your fashion. I also may have a different outtake of it, because that's the Bible, If you look at some of the Gospels, it was some of the same disciples telling about the same stories, and you were like, oh, wow, this is different. Why is it different? Because a different person it's their perspective. And so I want everyone to understand, this is not the gospel according to Carrie Joe. This is not verbatim from the Bible. This is a story that I read and what I took from it. That's all. So Jonah, God told him to go to this town and tell them, like, y'all are acting out. Y'all are not doing the things that you should be doing. And I'm going to take your town out. There's going to be some consequences, right? And Jonah's like, not doing it. Not doing it, God. Nopers. No, thank you. I'm not the one. And so God's like, no, Jonah, you got to go do this. And Jonah said, yeah, I'm not doing it. So Jonah took his version of I'm getting in my car and leaving, and went and bought a ticket on a boat and said, I'm out. Dunsies. God's not going to find me. I'm going on a boat. And so Jonah was on this boat asleep, doing his own thing, right? And God sent the storms and sent the boat a rocking. And the people that were workers on the boat, they were like, what is going on? And they believed in God, and they prayed to God, like, God, please just get us to our place in safety, right? And they start coming harder, so they're like, what did we do to deserve this? And they were praying, and and Jonah's like, yo, it's me, I did it, right? And they're like, what did you do? And they're like, what do we do with this kid, right? And they weren't sure what to do with him, because They didn't want to murder him, right? They don't want to throw him overboard and murder him. It's like the waves are a rocking. No one's gonna make it through this, and like we don't want to throw him over, God, but please stop this. We all want to get to our place safely. And Jonah's like, yo, you got to throw me over. And they're like, oh, God, we don't want to, right? So they're caught between a rock and a hard place. And they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll pray for him while we throw him over, right? So they pray to God, please, da 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 da. And they throw Jonah over. And even Jonah's like, yeah, you got to do it. And then God has a whale come and eat Jonah up. Not really eat. He just is in the belly of the whale. And Jonah like sets up shop and lives there for like 3 days, right? I can just imagine what it's like living in a whale's belly, right? All the seaweed, all the gook, all the yuck. And it's probably pure darkness, which is probably kind of what Jonah needed to think. I probably should have paid attention. I probably should have went and did what God said to do, right? So Jonah prays and he's like, I'm going to be obedient, God, please. And I don't want to be in this well for the rest of my life. And again, I'm paraphrasing. Don't go to the Bible and say he did not say that. I'm paraphrasing how I got out of it. So God has the whale spit Jonah out, right? And Jonah's like, I'm going to go to this stupid town, tell these people this stupid message. And okay, he wasn't happy about doing it, but he's going to go be obedient because he just spent 3 days in a whale's belly. Okay, I would be obedient too. So he gets to that town and he tells them, y'all aren't doing what you're supposed to do. God's going to come rain down on this place, right? You got to get your shit together. And man, this king, he took this stuff seriously. Right? He's like, everybody in sacks. Take off your garments, get in sacks, like probably like a potato sack is what I envisioned in my mind. And, nobody's eating. We're fasting. We're not eating. Even the animals aren't eating. Nobody's eating a morsel, right? We are going to get our shit together, which is kind of how I felt in my life, right? When I started this whole journey, I'm going to get my shit together. So, Jonah, he did his job. He told the message, right? And so this town, this king, they're getting their stuff together. They're doing what needs to be told, what they need to do. So they can keep their town and do the right thing, like come back to God. So Jonah goes on the end of the town and he sits down because he's curious. He's going to see what happens, right? He wants to see what's going to happen. And so he sits there and it's hot. So hot and he's miserable and he's grouchy. I mean, I understood what Jonah was saying because, man, I'm fat and when I get hot, I am so grouchy. I am so grouchy when it's hot. So God makes this plant and he makes it grow quickly. And now Jonah has shade and man, Jonah is happy. He's like, yeah, I'm watching this town. I'm being curious, but I got shade. I'm happy, right? And then overnight, God like wilts this plant and now Jonah has no shade and he's pissed. Jonah's mad and God's like, oh, Jonah, what you mad about? And Jonah's like, I'm hot, grouchy. I don't want to be here. And God's like, but what are you mad about? You didn't do anything to make that plant grow. You didn't plant the seed. You didn't make it grow. You didn't create the shade, but you enjoyed it. You just enjoyed it. Kind of like just like this town. They weren't obeying and doing what they were supposed to do, but they were enjoying the fruits. But they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing to help those fruits grow. Right? They were just enjoying it, just like Jonah was enjoying his little shade tree. And when God took it away, he got pissed. And God said, you did nothing to help it. So why are you mad? And man, that story rang so true to me because I thought, what have I done in my life but just bitch and moan about what's been done in my life, what I've been handed, or what I was part of handing myself. What have I done? Yeah, maybe my parents weren't there the whole time. Maybe they weren't able to teach me. You know what? Let's call a spade a spade. Maybe my aunts and uncles should have stepped in because my mom took care of them when they were children and she wasn't asked if she wanted to. So let's call a spade, right? But they had their own families. They had their own things they had to do. They had their own life they were living, right? Maybe people should have stepped in for a kid. I don't know. But I know that it didn't happen because this is a lesson I had to learn. In my life, I had to learn you have to help reap the fruits that come in your life. And part of that is by being obedient. So I started to read about what obedience was and how to be obedient and what I needed to do to be obedient, right? And let's talk about the 10 Commandments because I was like, okay, well, to be obedient, I have to follow rules, right? And so I was like, let me do about the 10 Commandments. Let me see what the 10 Commandments were. So that's where I went. And the 10 Commandments seem like common sense to me. Thou shalt not murder. I don't want to kill anybody. Thou shalt not steal. Okay, well, I had my fair share of doing that. Okay, I don't want to do it anymore. Thou shalt not lie. I can't sleep with someone else's wife. Like common sense things, right? But then I looked down and was like, oh, well, there are some things maybe I didn't understand, like about having idols, right? God already took the human race out one time when he had Noah build the ark, right? That's another one of my favorite stories. Like God was like, these people. So, maybe God said, okay, look, let me give these people something to go by. Give them a few, give them 10 commandments, right? And so called up Moses to the mountain, and Moses stayed up there for 40 days writing these commandments. And I find it funny because I was like, why 40 days? Like, what was he doing up there? And then I realized, oh, he didn't have a pen and paper. Moses was like, God, slow down. I can only chisel so fast. Like, God, please hold that thought, please. Hold that thought, please, God. My chisel hand hurts. My chisel hand hurts, God, please. So I realized maybe why it took 40 days. But when Moses was up there, like people couldn't even just calm down for those 40 days. Even Moses said, hey, yo, I'm going up there because God has called me and I'm going to talk to God for a little bit. You guys stay down here, chill out, like relax. And when I get back down, I'm going to tell you what he said, right? He didn't say I'm going to keep secrets. I'm going to tell you what he said. But no, they couldn't even do that, right? They had to melt down all the jewelry, all the gold, and they made an idol. They made a golden calf and they danced around it. Moses came down and was like, oh man, now I get it. Now I get it. I really wasn't understanding why I had to chisel all this stuff down. But I walk down and go, makes sense now. It makes sense now. They couldn't even go 40 days without trying to figure some stuff out. So it makes sense why now we have the 10 Commandments. So Moses is like, look, let me tell you what God said. And then he told him the 10 Commandments, and one of them was no idols. So he's like, yo, that golden calf, guys, we can't, nope. But idols aren't just these things we set in front of us, right? It's also people. It's also money. It's our jobs. It's our status. It's our social media. It's our food. It's every single thing that takes control of our life. That's an idol. That's an idol. When you're traveling 1,000,000 miles and going to every concert that a certain band is playing, that's an idol. Right? So he said to honor his name. I was the worst person saying GD all the time. And I would have people say, don't say that. Don't say that. But they would say it with a beer in their hand or a joint or, having an affair behind their wife, whatever it may be. So how am I going to take what you're telling me and doing that? Right? So I was like, who are you? And I would argue, well, it doesn't matter what they were doing. The fact that they were telling me to stop saying it, that was God telling them, hey, tell Kara Jo to quit doing that. I don't like it. And that's really what it is. Like, I didn't like people calling me fat. God doesn't like me using his name in vain. Right? It hurts his feelings. And people say, oh, God doesn't have feelings. How do you know? Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I don't care. I don't want to say anything that would upset him because that's my father. Right? And I respect him. So, and he said, keep the Sabbath. Keep the Sabbath. Sometimes I'm good at that. Sometimes I'm not. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. Now, the other ones were about how to treat people, right? Like I said, you don't steal, you don't do this, and so for me, those are common sense. But then, when God sent his only begotten son, Jesus, and Jesus came in and said, hey, I'm going to simplify this. Because, 10 rules, that seems like a lot. 10 rules seems like a lot. I want to say this while I'm getting out my Bible. I want to say this to ministers, people who do Bible studies, or people who are in authority. When you're in front of your congregation or the people that you're mentoring, whatever it may be, don't just read the verses. Let them have time to get to the verses. Let them read the verses, right? Because you're just telling me, I want to read it. I want to see it. I want to know it. I want to get my view on it. And those of you that the Bible scares you, because it scared me. It really did, because it's been thrown in my face my whole life. Every single thing I've done, it's been thrown in my face. It's been hit on the hands and on the pulpits louder than I can even care to remember. But if you're scared of the Bible, don't be. It's great stories and it's great information. But also there is a table of contents at the front, just like any other book, that you can go to the table of contents and find the page quickly. You also can put stickers or whatever it may be on the side of your Bibles so you can find it quickly. But ministers, people in authority, stop it. Give your people time to go to the verse. Let them get out their Bibles. So Jesus said, love God fully. Matthew 22, and it's verse 37 through 38. Love the Lord. Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The first and greatest commandment is just to love God. That's it. That's all. That's all I got to do. That's it. Then he goes on to say that for the second one, because he simplified it into two rules, two commands. Love others deeply. Matthew 22, 39, 40. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on to these two commandments. Two commandments. To love your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor. That's it. That seems pretty simple to me. Then Jesus said, hold my wine. Hold my wine. Because then he made a deeper calling to love. Hold my wine, folks. Hold my wine. All right. And we go to John 13, 34 through 35. Right? And he said, a new command I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. He didn't say, love people that are just like you. He didn't say, love people that believe like you. No. He didn't say, don't love someone because they're different. No. He didn't say, don't love them if they don't read the Bible. No. He said, a new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciple if you love one another. Okay. And then he poured another glass of wine. This is just in my mind because that's how I felt like he did this. Okay. And he gave specific instructions throughout the Gospels, right? I'm not going to read them all, but I'm going to say where they are. So if you want to go back, you're more than welcome to and go read them. Please do. You want to. He said, repent and believe. That's in Mark 1:15. He said, be baptized. That's in Matthew 28:19. And we got to hold the scene here for a second, right? Because he said, be baptized. I have been baptized more in my life than one person should be. Okay. Because I felt like, not that I felt, I really was taught, right? That you have to again and again and again and again and again ask Jesus into your life, ask God into your life, and be baptized and do all these things. Repent, 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 repent. And I'm not saying that's not accurate, but I'm not saying that, if you go to God, because he said, once you do it, like, I get it. You're imperfect. You will sin. You will do naughty things. These things will happen. But like, you just got to come to me because now we have this relationship and say, yo, God, stop. Super sorry. I didn't want to do it. I didn't mean to do it. I will try my best not to do it again. Right. But for me, in my little mind, I said, I got to be baptized every time I say, God, I want you in my life again. So probably on my 37th baptism in this space, in this season that I am in my life, I started to get real serious about things, real serious about my healing, and learned I have to heal myself from the inside out, right? From my soul and my heart and my mind, then my body will follow along. So I'm like, God, okay. I said, God, I'm gonna baptize myself again. And this gonna be for real, right? Because all the rest of them weren't for reals. This is gonna be for real. But I don't go to a church. I don't have a lot of people in my life. There was one person I could have called, but I sat and had a real heart to heart with God and said, you know what? This is for me and you. So why do we have to involve anybody else? This is for me and you. This is so you can see how serious I am. And this is so I can see how serious I am. That I want my life anew. Right? God was like, you're anointed. You're already anointed. Right? Because it says in the Bible, you baptized, you're anointed. Right? You come to me and accept me in your life, you're anointed. So God said, cool, you're anointed. You can do it. That's how you want to do it. Let's do it. Right? So I prepare. Baptism day. We're preparing. I get everything that I want to say. I write it out. I get my Bibles together. I'm so serious. I'm not even going to have my cat in my apartment. Why? Because he distracts me. He's a tiny terrorist. Okay? And so I take the cat down to Nisha's apartment and I tell her, I said, I'm going to baptize myself today. And I said, so leave me alone. Do my thing. So I wait till it's dark, right? Because I'm going to set the mood. Me and Jesus, we're going to set the mood, right? Fill my bathtub. I turn on Spotify. Turn on some worship music. But it's that old worship music, like with the organ music. I'm like, yeah, we're going back to the day, right? Like when you would go back on the dates, you played those good 90s R&B songs. That's what I'm doing. Because I'm telling God how much I love him. And I'm committing my life to God, right? And so I didn't even think about like putting on a bathing suit and just doing it in a bathing suit. No, I got naked and I'm in the bathtub and the music's in the background. I got candles going, right? It's a whole scene. I'm talking to God and I'm telling God all my things. I'm just letting him have everything and telling him how much I love him and how much I adore him and how I knew the idols that I had and the things that I was doing wrong and how much that I just wanted this anew to stick, right? Because none of the news had stuck before. My air conditioner makes noises, okay? I was unfamiliar how much noises it does make. And so the organ music's going, it's dark, the candles flickering, and I hear my air conditioner be like, I'm like, huh? Oh God. And then the music on the TV was playing Spotify is like, dun, dun, dun. And I'm like, God, this is supposed to be an intimate moment between me and you, and now I'm naked. I'm in the bath. The music is like, maybe I should have picked different music. Maybe this was a wrong choice. And then the air conditioner is doing something, and the water is so hot that I have to have the air on. Remember, I'm fat. I can't be hot. And it's a catastrophe. And now I'm like, is someone in here? Is someone in here? Do I hear someone? Hello? Hi? Like I'm just calling in everything. And I think to myself, I should have picked different music. I should have picked like, my Cece, she gives me comfort. I should have picked that. No, I'm da, da, da. Like I'm in a Catholic, church on Mass Sunday, listening to the pipe organs. I didn't know what I thought was good. Why that was good. I recollected myself. I mean, I don't know why I just didn't get out of the bathtub and go change the music, but I was in the moment, and I'm certain God was laughing too, because then after it all happened, him and I had a good laugh together. And like literally I heard in my head, you were naked. And I'm like, I know. So anyway, baptized myself, and it was so wonderful and so beautiful and so chaotic at the same time. Anyway, so back to the Gospels. He says, abide in me. John 15:4. He says, make disciples of all nations. Matthew 28:19-20. Forgive others. He didn't say forgive others for the small things. You got to forgive them for everything. Matthew 6:14-15. Pray without giving up. Luke 18:1. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Luke 6:31. Seek first God's kingdom and his righteousness. Matthew 6:33. Don't be afraid. John 14:27. And we're going to stop on this one. We're going to stop on this one. I have one more after this, and it's my favorite one, but we're going to stop on this one because the don't be afraid thing has really been big for me, right? Because again, not having parents in a home, left alone, I was isolated. I spent time at night by myself. No one to comfort me if I heard noises. And I don't care who you are. 13, 15, 9, 16, 22, 50. Things are scary. Things happen and they're scary, and you want comfort and you want someone and you want to know you're not in it alone. Right? And so I had spent time with God, and there had been a lot of spiritual warfare in my house and Nisha's house and the things that we had gone through. And I'm learning about different things. I'm learning about demons. Not only that, Nisha was a big horror movie fan. And I would say, she would be like, let's watch this horror movie. I'd be like, no, my soul is too sweet for that. And then I would just give in. Why? because again, I was trying to meet needs, not my own, but someone else's. And what's a horror movie going to do? And by the way, I was probably on my phone scrolling while it was going on, but you still take those things in. There's also a show called Evil. And don't get me wrong, this show was done very well, but it was about, the Catholic Church, a psychologist, and it was about a priest, a psychologist, and a scientist, right? So it was like all three, how they do exorcisms, and the show was done so good, right? But it was so flaky, right? It had little demons. And the little demons would show up out of nowhere, and they would be like, "What's up?" Or they would say funny things, and so I guess that's why it wasn't off-putting to me, because they said little funny things. And so I wasn't scared of it, but I didn't realize what my psyche was taking in. And so I had spent time with God, spent time in prayer, and it was time to go to bed one night. And it was very, very late. And I had gone to bed. And when I say late, I'm talking like 1, 2 in the morning, maybe even 3, 4 in the morning. I'd had a rough day. I was doing things, and now I just needed to go to bed. I'm in bed. Covers are pulled up. And this evening, I had took Tiny down to Nisha's for whatever reason. Maybe I just needed some time by myself. And sometimes animals need our attention, and sometimes we just need time to be with us. And so Tiny has a hard time being without me, and he cries a lot if he's not in my presence. And so I went to bed. Man, I pulled the covers up. I'm like, yes. I'm so tired. I feel good. I've spent time with God. I hear jingling in my apartment. I'm like, hello? And I didn't say it very loud because, let's be honest, if there's something here, I really don't want it to hear me. I want it to go away. I want it to think I'm not home. I don't want any part of it. And so I'm real quiet. I'm like, what was that? I thought I hear a jingle again. I thought I hear a little wrestling. And I'm like, I said, God, if there is a demon in here, please have it go away. And, again, new in all of my faith, reading the Bible, listening to different things. And I say, and Jesus Christ, you do not belong here. I didn't scream it out. I just kind of whispered it to myself because I figured if I used Jesus Christ's name, it would go away. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm still in it. And then I wasn't sure. And then I am like, what do I do? God, please, no, I don't want this. And I literally thought for an instant when I looked up, like at my door of my bedroom, there was going to be a little demon peeking around the corner being like, what's up, Carrie Joe? Okay. So all these things were going on through my head. So I'm still laying there. I don't get up. All of a sudden, something jumps on my bed. Something black jumps on my bed. I lose my shit. And then I realize it's my cat. And then for a split minute, I think to myself, is this really my cat? Tiny, is this, he's like, meh? And I'm like, okay, it's you. And then I'm like, but wait, you weren't here. Now I know. Well, if I'm by myself without my cat, sometimes if I'm going through some things, I will tell Nisha I have the top lock unlocked, so I will say that so she can unlock it and come in. Well, especially when Tiny stays down at her apartment, because he is such a jerk sometimes. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I didn't think, oh, your cat's down at Nisha's apartment. He's being a little jerk. She probably brought him back. Didn't even register. Because again, we're 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And in her mind, she didn't want to wake me because who's up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning? So both of us were set on different mindsets. But then my mind went to there was a demon in my apartment. Okay? I get my clothes on because now I'm irritated. And now I need to give a what for. Why? Why were you in my apartment at 4 o'clock in the morning scaring the living daylights out of me. So I trek down to her apartment, go into her apartment, and she's like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "Well, I should ask the same." And then I tell her the story of thinking it was a demon. And then we laugh. And then we went to bed. So that "don't be afraid" makes me laugh. And the fact, because we were talking about him, Tiny had to jump up here and see what was going on. So the little supervisor is here doing supervisor duties. So the "don't be afraid" I love, because never in my life have I cried out to God and said, "Please protect me. Please don't let this, whatever it is, get me." And I knew, even though I was scared, that God had me. He had me. My last one of the Gospels that he gave specifics and instructions is, "Take up your cross and follow me." And that's in Luke 9:23. Take up your cross. Pick up your burdens, pick up your stuff, pick up your yuck, and follow me. And I will show you how to handle it. Follow me. Pick up your cross. We all have them. Pick it up. Some may be heavier than others, but pick it up and follow me. These commandments are rooted in love and relationship, he did not make commandments rooted in fear and hate, love and relationships. Thank you for joining this episode of Holy Chuckles Podcast, where we tell real stories, witness raw faith, experience holy laughter. Join us again next Wednesday for another episode. Remember, be kind, be loving, be Christ-like.